Islam is today the second most practiced religion in the world, but its beginnings were humble. It emerged in the 7th century from what many at the time considered a remote and unimportant region, the deserts of Arabia. The founder of Islam was Muhammad, a merchant born around the year 570 in the city of Mecca. His early life was shaped by the society of the Quraysh tribe, where trade and tribal loyalty defined much of daily life. Around the year 610, in the solitude of the cave of Hira outside Mecca, Muhammad experienced a moment that would alter history. There, he received the first of a series of revelations through the angel Jibril, known in English as Gabriel. These revelations continued over the next 23 years and were later compiled into the Holy Book of Islam, the Quran. The spiritual truth of Muhammad's message is a matter of faith, but its historical impact is undeniable. At first, he shared these revelations only with close family and friends, speaking privately to a small circle. His teachings focused on the oneness of God, the importance of moral reform, and the idea of Islam, which means submission to God. Gradually, his message gained followers who became known as Muslims. Among his earliest supporters were people who would later be called the Sahaba, or companions of the Prophet. As Muhammad began to preach more openly, he faced strong opposition from his own tribe, the Quraysh, who feared his message threatened their authority and traditional way of life. Conflict soon broke out between the two sides. It was in this period that the concept of jihad began to take shape. Jihad carried two meanings: the personal struggle to live in accordance with God's will through moral integrity, and the physical struggle in defense of the faith when sanctioned by God. Years of struggle followed, but ultimately Muhammad and his followers overcame the opposition. By the time of his death in 632, most of Arabia had embraced Islam. Leadership of the community then passed to one of Muhammad's closest companions, Abu Bakr, who became the first caliph or successor. Under his leadership and that of his successor Umar, Islam expanded far beyond Arabia. Muslim armies challenged the two great powers of the age, the Sasanian Empire in Persia and the Eastern Roman, or Byzantine Empire. Both were exhausted from decades of conflict with one another, and the Arab armies struck swiftly. Within a short time, great cities of the Levant, Syria, Egypt, and Persia fell under Muslim control. The inhabitants of these lands were largely Christians, Jews, and Zoroastrians. They were allowed to continue their religious practices and were treated as subjects of the new rulers, paying a special tax in exchange for protection. Forced conversions were rare, and the spread of Islam was gradual. During this early period, the Quran was still mostly preserved through oral recitation, though some written fragments existed. It was during the reign of the third caliph, Uthman, that the Quran was collected into a single authoritative text, which remains the basis of the holy book used by Muslims worldwide today. In 656, Caliph Uthman was assassinated, and leadership passed to Ali, the Prophet's cousin and son-in-law. His rule was challenged by Muawiyah, the governor of Syria and cousin of Uthman. This rivalry sparked the first civil war in Islam, known as the First Fitna. It laid the foundation for the later division between Sunni and Shia Muslims. Supporters of Ali became known as Shi'at Ali, or the Party of Ali, while those who emphasized following the tradition of the Prophet and his companions became known as Sunni. Ali was assassinated in 1661 by members of a radical group later called the Khawarij, and the Umayyad dynasty soon took control, establishing their capital in Damascus. In 680, Ali's son Hussein led a small uprising against Umayyad rule, but he and his followers were killed at Karbala. This tragic event became a defining moment for Shia Islam, transforming it from a political stance into a distinct religious identity. Shia Muslims looked to the Prophet's descendants for leadership, while Sunnis placed authority in the community and its traditions. Despite internal divisions, Muslim armies continued to expand under the Umayyads. They conquered North Africa, and in 711, a Berber general named Tariq ibn Ziyad led Muslim forces into Iberia. His name lives on in Gibraltar, meaning the Mountain of Tariq. The Muslim advance toppled the Visigoth kingdom and spread across much of Spain. By this time, the Umayyad Empire stretched from the Atlantic Ocean to modern-day Pakistan. Yet the majority of people living under its rule were not Muslims. Converts, known as Mawali, began to increase in number, though they were often treated unequally compared to Arabs, creating resentment. In 747, a rebellion began in Khorasan under the Abbasid family, who claimed descent from the Prophet's uncle Abbas. They defeated the Umayyads at the Battle of the Zab in 750 and nearly wiped out the dynasty. One Umayyad prince, Abd al-Rahman, managed to escape to Iberia and establish the independent emirate of Cordoba in 756. Meanwhile, the Abbasids founded a new capital in Baghdad, which became a flourishing center of learning, trade, and culture. This marked the beginning of what is often called the Golden Age of Islam, a period of great achievements in science, mathematics, medicine, literature, and philosophy. Over time, Islam spread beyond the heartlands through conquest, trade, and the work of scholars and mystics. Sufi movements emphasized inner spirituality and devotion, attracting many followers. Muslim traders carried their faith along trade routes into sub-Saharan Africa, Central Asia, India, and Southeast Asia. Cities such as Timbuktu and Gao became centers of Islamic scholarship, while ports along the East African coast linked the region to the wider Indian Ocean world. The coming centuries saw new dynasties rise and fall. The Seljuks, a Turkic people, converted to Islam and established their own empire across the Middle East, eventually taking control of Baghdad in 1055. They separated political authority, held by sultans, from religious leadership, held by the caliphs and scholars. Their victory over the Byzantine Empire at Manzikert in 1071 opened the way for Muslim settlement in Anatolia. The Christian response came with the Crusades, as European armies captured Jerusalem in 1099. Later, in the 12th century, the famous general Saladin united Egypt, Syria, and Iraq, and in 1187 he retook Jerusalem, a major victory against the Crusaders. Islam also spread eastward, influencing Mongol rulers after their initial destruction of Baghdad in 1258. Within a century, several Mongol Khanates converted to Islam. In Southeast Asia, Muslim traders and rulers established new Islamic states such as the Sultanate of Malacca, helping the faith spread widely across Indonesia and Malaysia. The 14th and 15th centuries saw the rise of powerful new Muslim empires. The Ottomans expanded from Anatolia into the Balkans, conquering Constantinople in 1453 and making it their capital. In India, the Mughal Empire was founded in 1526 and ruled over a vast Hindu majority population for centuries. In Persia, the Safavids established Shia Islam as the state religion, shaping the identity of modern-day Iran. From the 16th century onward, Muslim power faced new challenges. European states gained strength through maritime exploration, colonial expansion, and military advances. The Ottomans suffered defeats in battles such as Lepanto and Vienna, while Mughal authority in India weakened. Reform movements emerged, including Wahhabism in Arabia during the 18th century, which sought to return to what it viewed as the pure practices of early Islam. The 19th and 20th centuries brought European colonialism to much of the Muslim world, from North Africa to South Asia. Islam often became a rallying point for resistance against colonial rule. New movements such as Salafism arose, some focusing on strict adherence to early traditions, while others combined reform with calls for political struggle. The collapse of the Ottoman Empire after the First World War marked another turning point. In 1924, the Turkish leader Mustafa Kemal Ataturk formally abolished the caliphate, ending an institution that had lasted for centuries. In the mid-20th century, decolonization created new Muslim majority states, including Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Indonesia, which now has the largest Muslim population in the world. The later decades of the century saw dramatic changes, from the Iranian Revolution in 1979 to the rise of Muslim communities in Europe and North America due to migration and globalization. The tragic events of 2001, when Al-Qaeda attacked the United States, created new divisions and led to widespread suspicion of Muslims in the West, despite the fact that the vast majority of Muslims rejected such violence. Across its 14 centuries of history, Islam has shown remarkable adaptability and resilience. It has traveled through conquest, trade, and scholarship from Iberia to Indonesia, uniting diverse peoples and inspiring the rise of great civilizations. Its legacy remains alive today, in the lives of more than 1.9 billion people worldwide, making it one of the most significant stories in human history.